Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump is one of the greatest presidents that we've had. If you listen to this and you say, oh my God, what is this? What type of narcotics is this person on? Well, just keep listening. To 74 million supporters of President Trump, don't ever let anyone, let's put it this way, ignore them in your mind, or don't let them get to your heart or make you feel that you didn't support one of the great presidents in this country's history. I'm going to explain in this segment not only why President Trump has been a fantastic president, but why you should be very proud to have supported President Trump and to continue supporting the president. He's not going anywhere in terms of his presence within American politics. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. I'm going to give you a not only unique perspective, but a viewpoint that you need to listen to and share. This is something that needs to be addressed in American politics, and I'm about to explain this to everybody. We already know what's taken place the past 4 years, the 92% negative media coverage, just the unadulterated propaganda from journalists that have now become activists for the Democratic Party. But I want to read you this. Get this segment viral. It's extremely, extremely important. We're on our way to 200,000 subscribers. Ladies and gentlemen, tell your friends and family, anyone who might enjoy my voice about this channel. Let's get to 200,000 subs. When we get to over 200,000 subs, I'll be able to also branch out and do some more work. I have a Rumble account. It's below. But I'll be able to do a lot more things when we get to over 200,000 subscribers. But here, NPR, fact check. Let's see if this is a fact check. So we'll get to what happened today. And for the record, I condemn any illegal activity. That's my statement. It's always been my statement on anything that's illegal. But let me just read you this. Fact check, and we'll get to everything from the 25th Amendment to the apoplectic, hysterical reaction of Democrats, the same people who were silent for 6-7 months of just chaos and mayhem and close to $2 billion, $2 billion with a B, dollars in property damage, buildings set ablaze, police buildings. I mean, where was the outrage on the left? But anyway, fact check. Trump touts low unemployment rates for African Americans, Hispanics. January 8th, 2018. It's basic math, simple math. 2018, all of 2018, all of 2019, the beginning of 2020. This country experienced record lows in unemployment. President Trump received a greater percentage of African American voters, Black and African American voters, Asian American voters, Latino and Hispanic voters. He got a greater percentage than any Republican candidate in 60 years, and he outperformed 2016 numbers. You have only you only have things to be proud of with President Trump. Did he make missteps? Yes, every president does. Did he do things perhaps he shouldn't have done? Of course. Do you want to compare what President Obama did in Libya, turning that country into a failed state, with anything Trump has done? There's nothing that Trump has done that even comes close to what President Obama did with a failed NATO intervention with the help of Biden and Madam Secretary. You want to talk about legitimate scandals and controversies with Russia infiltrating our computer systems? Guess who had a private server or servers for 4 years that President Obama knew for 4 years he lied to the country about? We can go on forever. Flint water crisis. President Obama drinks Flint water. Oh yeah, I'm thirsty, yeah. Yeah, that was what? To deliberately deceive people? Could you imagine if Trump had done that? But here, fact check. This is extremely important, ladies and gentlemen. You've had 92% negative media coverage, and only the most apoplectic, seething, fuming, hysterical, maniacal, fanatical condemnation of anything Trump does. He never worked with Russia. He never pressured Zelensky to investigate Biden. The United States government is investigating his son Caligula. They impeached Trump for what the U.S. is doing right now. But I want to read you this, finally 5 minutes in. Fact check. Trump touts low unemployment rates for African Americans, Hispanics. January 8th, 2018. This was a tremendous achievement during President Trump's tenure. To have an economy that was soaring, that was booming, that was just, people were working. And still you had, hey, Bill Maher is great, but you still had Bill Maher saying, we want, it would be good to have a recession. I forgot exactly what he said. Well, liberals got their wish. And the pandemic wasn't Trump's fault, by the way. We can get into all of that, and we will. President Trump didn't downplay anything, and a governor has more impact and influence on the lives of citizens within a state than a president. A cursory understanding of civics will give you that knowledge. The governors of these states, whether it's Murphy in New Jersey, and God bless the people of New Jersey, they have the highest per capita rate and the highest unemployment rate. The highest per capita rate in terms of the pandemic and the highest unemployment rate. Is that Trump's fault? And like I said, God bless the people of New Jersey. I love New Jersey. But that's not Trump's fault. How Phil Murphy gets away with everything, I don't know. How Cuomo gets away with having the greatest number of aggregate lives lost in the pandemic, with New York being pretty much the epicenter. How de Blasio and Schumer and Gillibrand, how they get away with everything, and Cuomo. And then his brother at CNN didn't abide by protocols, but he got away with that. We can go on forever. These people are the biggest hypocrites on the planet. And they have the most manic reaction or maniacal reaction to anything Trump does. It wasn't a coup today. President Trump wasn't engaged in his words didn't incite anyone. It wasn't an insurrection. What Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz and what President Trump asked Vice President Pence to do wasn't an example of an insurrection or a coup or any kind of revolt. This is within the protocol of the Senate and within the protocols of Congress, of Congress, congressional. These are what Trump was asking Pence to do is abide by law. You could simply go ahead and side with Hawley and Ted Cruz without breaking the law. Or I should say, support the president without breaking any laws. Pence wouldn't have broken any laws. The Electoral College would have simply circumvented or just found a way to ignore Pence. But Pence didn't support Trump. And his excuse was, I'm only the vice president. Well, then that's the point. Why don't you just support President Trump like any other vice president would have done? Because there's the 36-page Peter Navarro report and 1,000 plus affidavits and thousands of incident reports. And Ted Cruz and others want to investigate, which we should, because they spent 4 years investigating tinfoil hat fantasies. But Pence should have joined Hawley and Ted Cruz and over 100 Republicans in the House. That's another story. But I want to just continue reading this. Fact check. Trump touts low unemployment rates for African Americans, Hispanics. January 8th, 2018. Why am I spending 10 minutes on this without even getting to I'll get to right now. The claim, Black and Hispanic unemployment are at or near record lows. This is a fact check. Do you understand how it works? How media, this is NPR, the least biased, or one of the least biased, still biased against Trump, but one of the least biased. We're not talking CNN, MSNBC, and the New York Times and the Washington Post, extensions of the Democratic Party. But bear with me, we'll get to the point eventually. The short answer, Trump's numbers are right, but it's generally a stretch for the president to take credit for job creation. Excuse me? Is this a fact check? A fact check is, are the numbers correct? That's it. Leave it at that. But that's what Trump has had to deal with the 92% negative media coverage. President Trump has been one of the better presidents, I would say one of the greatest presidents we've ever had. Generally, a president is judged by the economy. This pandemic response was definitely not Trump's fault. We've listened to all the smartest people in the room. And the smartest people in the room said, oh yes, peaceful protests that resulted in close to $2 billion in property claims. Well, that didn't spread anything. That wasn't a super spreader. But oh my God, we got to do this, to tank the economy, and that'll help people. And, we just, give them, $600 and that'll be fine. That's not Trump's fault. That's the Democratic Party taking this. That's a whole other story. If President Trump is to blame for the pandemic, you imbeciles on the left, then does Cuomo have any blame? Does Newsom, Pritzker, Phil Murphy, do they have any blame at all? Or are they completely absolved in your warped logic, in your propaganda-filled brains? Are they completely absolved, or is it only Trump? Did Trump inject people with it? You sad, pathetic fools? No. He didn't. His sin was winning in 2016. And don't get upset, ladies and gentlemen, because he's prevailed. We shouldn't even have had 4 years of President Trump because the system is so corrupt. They would have never have let somebody like President Trump become president. We're going to get to the USMCA in a second, and I'll explain, and I'll go into a lot of other achievements. First president to step foot in North Korea, whole bunch of achievements. But here, the long answer. Trump is right that African American unemployment hit a record low in December. The unemployment rate for black Americans is currently 6.8%, the lowest level recorded since the government started keeping track in January of 1972. Then where's the fact check? True on Trump's numbers. They should have left it at that. This was a year into his presidency. But they kept going on. Well, it's not him. He's not the reason this happened. There was a trend. Well, how do you know the trend would have continued, genius? With the Trans-Pacific Partnership and with Hillary Clinton, who can't even type an email without a catastrophe. The fact that we had President Trump, whether it was tax cuts that did boost the economy, according to a Federal Reserve study, or the USMCA that he eventually negotiated, there were a whole bunch of things that President Trump had done prior to 2008. He had all of 2017. And you have no clue if the trend would continue. The trends, they say, well, the trend started under President Obama. So anything good that took place, it was President Obama. Anything bad, oh, it's Trump. These people have no basic logic. They have no logical reasoning skills. When you have an autonomous zone where it's like literally a portion of Seattle or Portland are like, cordoned off, and just people decide, oh yeah, we're going to run this part of the city. And the mayors and there's no, oh my God, a coup, an insurrection, oh my God, a catastrophe, or a revolt. No, it's just, oh, that happened. Oh, that's fine. What happened today with the Capitol, you had one woman, God bless her soul, her life was taken today. And you have 3 other people, I believe, whose lives were lost. And people say, well, if left-leaning protesters did this, could you imagine the response? Yeah, nothing. The response would be absolutely, they would champion the protesters. They would say this is an example of citizens rising up against Trump's tyranny. And this is what happens when you have a despot and the people have spoken. Everything they're saying now, just reverse it, because they're hypocrites. Believe with Kavanaugh, don't believe with Tara Reid and Biden. The planet's going to end. Here's a resolution. Not legislation, a Green New Deal. Medicare for all, Medicare for all. We can't vote on it. No, we can't vote on it. No. AOC said there's a rule change that we can't get it through Senate. Oh, yeah, by the way, you have the Senate now. You're not going to get Medicare for all, are you? And I don't say this with malice, but they're the biggest grifters and deceitful, manipulative liars that you've ever seen in your life. All of these things that Democrats have preached and shouted at the top of their lungs. Medicare for all. Well, you going to pass it now? No. Green New Deal bill. No, you're not going to pass that. Universal basic income. No, you're not going to pass that. I hope they pass an immigration bill. I have friends who are dreamers. I want them to be citizens. I actually hope they pass an immigration bill. I'm conservative on the Second Amendment, and I'm conservative on other things, but I'm towards the left on immigration. But fact check. Trump touts low unemployment rates for African Americans, Hispanics. January 8th, 2018, NPR. Do you understand? This was viewed as an inaccurate claim because, God forbid, Trump, who presided over record lows in unemployment in all of 2018, all of 2019, and if the unemployment rate was not at record lows, but 2017 was okay. And the beginning of 2020, the majority of President Trump's presidency, we had a fantastic economy. Did he have a ruinous presidency? You want to know why? And so we'll get to, this is a microcosm, or this is an example of the 4 years of President Trump in one article. He had record low unemployment, record low Black and Latino unemployment. It wasn't good enough for NPR and for media. It wasn't good enough. Do you understand? He was a despot who worked with Russia. They were obsessed with Russia and a Steele dossier and their tinfoil hat fantasies every single second of every single hour of every single day of every single week of every single month. They tried to denigrate and tarnish and tear apart our trust in institutions and our belief in democracy. They didn't like democracy when Trump won the Electoral College. They wanted to abolish the Electoral College. Here's your chance, Democrats. You duplicitous, disingenuous phonies. Oh, now you like the Electoral College. Because Tales from the Crypt, the exhumed body that you propped up, was very popular. Oh, yeah, so popular. Oh, the numbers are definitely legitimate. Definitely legitimate. Very real numbers. I would never suggest otherwise. Never. But definitely believe the numbers. Yes. The cadaver that got Botox and plastic surgery named Biden. Yes, he's very popular. Yes. Erect leg hairs all the way. Very good. President Trump is one of our better presidents. I would say one of the greatest presidents we've had. First president to step foot in North Korea and begin détente between North and South Korea, a roadmap towards peace. President Moon Jae-in stated that Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. They both deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. That's something President Obama did not accomplish. President Trump set the groundwork to bring Americans back home from never-ending counterinsurgency wars and conflicts. And if Americans, unfortunately, were not sent back home, blame the Democrats and liberals and media. Every single thing Trump did was not only scrutinized, condemned with the apoplectic, hysterical reaction of 1,000 suns, 1,000 celestial beings. These people were consumed with contempt for Trump. When there was record low unemployment, it was still bad. He was a despot. He worked with Russia, don't you know? Now, he doesn't want to concede like Stacey Abrams didn't concede in Georgia. Oh my God, he's the worst. Oh, his words incite any tragedy. His words incite. We had just as many tragedies with President Obama in terms of, people doing horrendous things. It was never President Obama's fault. But Trump incites people. Do you have any direct evidence of that? No. Do you have any direct evidence he incited people in the Capitol? No. Do you have any direct evidence these are racist people? No. But you call them that. You have more non-white Trump supporters than media would acknowledge. How does that work when you've called Trump a racist for 4 years? Well, nobody trusts media. Most Americans don't. And for every survey that says, oh well, Trump is not popular, is unfavorable, media is just in the same. Actually, there are less people that trust media than trust President Trump, or are about the same. People don't look at the Democratic Party's in the tank in terms of favorability ratings. So the people who get it, who understand President Trump was able to do things that no other president, USMCA, no more NAFTA. The only president we've had to sign an executive order combating anti-Semitism on college campuses, which is a fantastic thing because it's running rampant. Using the definition within the IHRA. Go and look up that definition. I think that organization knows a lot more about that word. I can't even really talk about it on YouTube. In terms of a Jewish American, he's done more for Israel than any president ever. He's done more to support Israel, which is a very good thing. The left doesn't like that. They're the ones who would oppose the 1930s and 1940s Germans, but at the same time, they oppose Israel. Very smart people. Very, very good grasp of history, Democrats have. Oh, by the way, Yad Vashem in Israel, and if you don't know Yad Vashem, go look up Yad Vashem in Israel, condemned AOC's absurd and dangerous revisionist history. I wrote about what AOC stated in the Jerusalem Post. And I talked about her complete ignorance in terms of historical record and her very dangerous revisionist history. That's why when she was looking through that chain link fence, suddenly, the photographer just couldn't just see, have the photo of what she was looking at. But see, again, the media won. The intelligence operatives won for the time being. The apoplectic liberals in Hollywood won. The Democratic Party that cheated Bernie Sanders won for the time being. Who prevailed? President Trump. They won a short-term victory. President Trump will prevail in the long term. History is on the side of Trump. History is not on the side of Democrats who destroyed Libya and the Lincoln Project people who sent Americans off to never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts, and people like AOC who say the planet's going to end and gave us a resolution. Planet's going to end! Here's a resolution that we don't even vote for in the Senate. You have everything to be proud of if you're a Trump supporter. Everything to be proud of. Well, I should say President Trump made missteps. You know, the family separation was a horrendous thing. But the people who care, the liberals who suddenly grew a conscience when it came to immigration, President Obama not only did the same thing, in certain times did the same thing, but the cages were built or utilized with President Obama, so much so that they spread a photo, Democrats spread a photo trying to condemn Trump's policy, and they used a photo from the Obama years, from President Obama's tenure. And he deported more human beings than any president ever, President Obama. He also went after whistleblowers and journalists with the Espionage Act more than any president ever. And then he's not the despot? Really? He's not the despot. President Obama's not the despot. Very good liberal. Destroying Libya and sending Americans off to Syria and doing everything else he did in terms of foreign policy. Going and persecuting whistleblowers and journalists. Definitely good liberal. Oh, very good liberal. But Trump is mean because of his tweets. For people who don't worship public relations, and for people who have a grasp of history, and even the historians are like, they go on Twitter, there's like a lot of historians I'm looking at, and I'm like, my God, I mean, did you lose your mind? They're equating the people who, at the Capitol today, to people who, let's put it this way, flew planes into buildings. So, no, there is no moral equivalency. Even if you get retweeted on Twitter or you get social media love, it's completely irrelevant. It doesn't make you right if you're some historian who's in your 60s or 50s or 60s or 70s or whatever, and you want to, I don't know, get some kind of accolades from social media. So you say absurd things and it gets retweeted or whatever. Wasn't an insurrection or a coup. You're gonna. What Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz did was they engaged in political tactics that were completely legal. President Trump asked Pence to do exactly what was legal, maybe not in terms of what Pence wanted in terms of politics, but he never told anyone to break any laws. President Trump was never impeached on breaking any law. This is a fact. Somebody tell the Washington Post and New York Times this. Somebody tell the liberals who live in their own bubble. Okay? You have liberals in Los Angeles who have presided over, in New York and other states, who've presided over the worst homelessness issues. And they've done virtually nothing about it, and it's only gotten worse. You would think that these compassionate liberals would have some compassion. That's just one example. Then you have the Lincoln Project people who, in terms of foreign policy, they're okay with endless wars. And Trump pushed, that's just one example of hypocrisy in terms of, city level, the way liberals run things. Democratic states have the highest unemployment rates. Go look at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. How is that Trump's fault? They have the highest rate of homelessness. How is that Trump's fault? They have the highest infection rates. How is that Trump's fault? They have the highest aggregate lives lost. How is that Trump's fault? Go to the New York Times statistics. It's always 7 out of 10 states have the highest aggregate lives lost. It's always 8 out of 12. It used to be like 8 out of 10 had the highest per capita rates in terms of the pandemic. How is that Trump's fault? They have governors who, during the State of the State addresses, did not address the pandemic. They wanted to impeach Trump the beginning of February, and then when it hit, Andrew Cuomo stated, the risk remains low for the people of New York. There's no need for undue anxiety. But nobody remembers this. President Trump was able to completely turn a very corrupt system on its head. to just expose a very corrupt system. You had intelligence operatives that set him up and framed him, and he fought back. And they didn't like it. They impeached Trump simply to cover up for Biden's actual crimes, almost certainly. And now we're finding out that the United States is going after his son Caligula, which, of course, if there's no special counsel, they'll probably try to sweep under the rug. But again, they're so corrupt and sloppy. And if you don't have election month, and it's just election day, what do you think happens? Election day, Tales from the Crypt got his behind handed to him. So, but the numbers are very accurate. Very accurate numbers. Very accurate. Very accurate. Trump was a president that we needed. He saved us from Hillary Clinton, my God almighty. We should thank him for that alone. But he reversed U.S. foreign policy, hopefully forever. And he, in terms of North and South Korea, did a phenomenal thing by being the first president to step foot in North Korea. We had record low unemployment for most of his presidency. It was never good enough. He was not a despot, because if you look at despots and authoritarians, if you look at these people in history, they did not sign prison reform legislation. And, he signed prison reform legislation, and it's like, there's one CNN journalist I respect greatly, even though I disagree with him on a lot, and he was like weeping tears of joy when Biden won. And then I listened to this gentleman, and he said, oh, now people won't be afraid. Like, what did he say about that President Trump went after a certain religion? This couldn't be further from the truth. He never had a ban of any religion. He never had a ban of a religion. Trump never said both sides. He never said in the 1930s and 1940s Germans were fine people. Go look at the actual C-SPAN transcript, you fools. I'm not talking about the CNN journalist. I'm talking about Democrats in general, who are fools. Go look at. He never called the pandemic a hoax. There's no quote that exists. He was talking about the media reaction, which he likened to Russia, the Russia tinfoil hat fantasy. He never said that you should consume Drano. That never happened. None of these things happened. None of these things actually happened. But there's this mythology around Trump. And people who never cared about politics suddenly cared because they said, well, with the CNN and MSNBC and ABC News and the New York Times, these are objective news stories, and they don't like Trump, so what's going on here? But they're not objective. The problem is they are far from objective. They've become extensions of the Democratic Party. Even Fox News isn't far away from being CNN. Isn't that far away, I should say. President Trump accomplished a great deal, considering that he had Jeff Sessions, who undermined him and stabbed him in the back with a special counsel. He had very little support within the Republican Party. The Republicans did not support President Trump the way a president should be, backed by his own political party, and he did a lot for the Republican Party. He never worked with Russia. That was a tinfoil hat fantasy. Mueller found nothing. He never committed a crime while in office. They didn't impeach him on a crime. The pandemic was not his fault. We had record low unemployment for most of his tenure. He had foreign policy achievements in Israel, UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, Serbia, Kosovo. I mean, he only had 4 years and the entire planet was against him. What more could he have accomplished? The man was one of our greatest presidents ever. He did more in 4 years than anything President Obama achieved in 8 years. What was President Obama's lasting achievement? Okay, you could say the ACA. What else? Destroying Libya? I want to know what President Obama's lasting achievement was. The Flint? Standing Rock? What? What was his lasting achievement? What was Bill Clinton's lasting achievement? We know what Bush's lasting achievement was. completely destabilizing the Middle East. What was Bill Clinton's? A good economy also. So he's judged by his economic record. Well, President Trump, before the pandemic, had, like I said, record low unemployment. And Trump didn't tell states to just shut down their economies. So Trump, you have a lot to be proud of as a Trump supporter. Now, could he have been more diplomatic? Yes. Yes. Americans, I've realized the past 4 years, care more about the sensibilities of apoplectic liberals than they do about actual achievements. So if you're a good Republican or a good Democrat and you destroy a country, well, you're still a good human being. But if you're Trump and you don't destroy a country and you actually help peace in a whole bunch of regions of the world, and a roadmap towards détente and peace and all these things, and record low unemployment, but you're mean, we can't stand you. We'd rather have somebody who's, a good diplomat that destroys countries. But, Trump, he's orange and he's mean, and we don't like it. But I will say, look, a couple times that President Trump went overboard. He shouldn't have called NFL players that name. He shouldn't have said that. There are things that he shouldn't have done, just in terms of he shouldn't have done certain things. Okay, those were missteps. But every president has missteps. But he was never given the benefit of the doubt ever. They set him up and they framed him. Every achievement that he was able to accomplish was mitigated or pretty much erased from history. Share this segment everywhere. Get this segment viral. God bless you. If you're a supporter of President Trump, 74 million plus, in your mind, don't debate, the Children of the Corn cult Democratic Party liberals, but don't debate them. Like, if you have family members or friends, don't talk politics if they don't like Trump. It's not worth it. They won't know enough about history anyway to back up any of their claims. But don't let anyone make you feel that supporting President Trump wasn't the right thing to do. Because you had your reasons that are valid, extremely valid. My primary reason is I wanted Americans home from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. I also liked the good economy. And I also liked the fact that he went up against very corrupt intelligence officials, and the fact that he was the first president to step foot in North Korea, and the fact that he was a great supporter of Israel. And other reasons too. President Trump, in my view, is one of the greatest presidents we've had. And you should be proud to have supported President Trump. And we'll see what Biden accomplishes in the next 4 years. Give me your thoughts below. You can rest assured he'll have the most favorable media coverage possible. And it'll be night and day in terms of media coverage. Give me your thoughts below. President Trump, by the way, isn't going anywhere. He'll be a force in politics for the next 4 years as well. Give me your thoughts. Thank you. Get this segment viral, people. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below. Get this segment viral and share this segment with anyone who supports President Trump.